Hello everybody and welcome to Judge Mathas, and today on trial stands my new addiction. It is Elite Dangerous. The current beta, as you can see in the top left, it is beta 1.03. Elite Dangerous really ushers in a lot of things. It is the beginning of the resurgence of the space simulator. It is recapturing of the magic of my childhood fantasies. It is truly one of the more exciting things to happen to me in a long time as far as video games are concerned. I am a big fan of simulation games, of sandbox games, and really of just the space genre in general is one of my favorite genres. And I grew up playing games like Wing Commander, like Frontier, like Elite. These were games that I grew up on because it allowed me to... It aimed to capture my imagination. It basically let you loose in this vast galaxy and was allowing you to kind of do whatever you wanted. Now, of course, technology at the time didn't truly allow it to be as detailed as they probably would have liked, but technology nowadays, what they're able to do, really does allow such freedoms. And Elite is trying to do that. It's great. It's a really great time to be a gamer and a fan of this particular style of game because of what they are aiming to do. So what is Elite Dangerous? Well, Elite Dangerous is the fourth installment of the Elite series, the first one having appeared back in 1984, which was truly the first space simulation game in existence. And it was a successfully crowdfunded game, raising just over £1 million. And then went on and was very quiet and started developing their game. They kind of took the complete opposite approach as to Chris Roberts and Star Citizen. Star Citizen is this big, overblown, well, I shouldn't say overblown, but this big, hugely anticipated game that we have barely seen any gameplay of, that we won't be seeing really a final product for at least a couple more years. There's been a lot of publicity around it. They've raised, crowdfunded almost 49 million rather dollars, and it's kind of just this big hype machine. While Elite raised the £1 million that they wanted, and then went and developed their game quietly. And instead of, creating this hype machine, just let the gameplay speak for itself. And recently, Elite has been getting more and more attention from the press because with this current beta, it is incredibly fully featured and incredibly fun to play. And it is a game without a story or a goal or anything. It is about you taking your ship into the wide open space and making a name for yourself however you see fit. Whether you wish to be a pirate, or a bounty hunter, or a trader, or a miner, or an explorer, all of these things will be things you can do within this game, and many of them you can do now. So, before we jump in, there are 3 modes you can actually play this game in, even in its current state. You can play by yourself, for solo play. You can play on a private server where you and your friends kind of play the game, or you can play online in an open server, the MMO kind of quote-unquote feature of the game that is really, in my opinion, the star of the game. And that's what I've been playing in. There's a lot of risk involved. There's players can kill you, players can trade with you, can work with them, they can but steal your cargo and hold you for ransom. All kinds of cool things. And if you ever played EVE Online, you can kind of think EVE Online, but a little bit more action-packed and a lot more about you and your ship, as opposed to just you trying to rule a galaxy. So I'm going to jump into online. I will cut the recording so it can load up. And once we're in, we'll start talking about the game. I'll see you there. Alright, here we are. Welcome to Elite Dangerous, or at least welcome to the starter ship in Elite Dangerous. This is where I find myself having difficulty because this is the part of the game that is going to be very difficult to kind of break down and talk about in great detail because there is just so much detail. And I want this video to be an overview. I didn't want it to be a 3-hour dictation as to how to play the game, but more of a reasons as to why I am in love with this game as it stands right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So let's start with what we're looking at. So right now, as I said, we're in our beginner ship. When you start a game, you are granted a something called the Sidewinder. It's a very small, pretty maneuverable ship with a basic pair of pulse lasers. You're not very combative. You're not the fastest ship. You're not the tankiest ship. It's an all-around decent beginner ship. And when you die, or when you begin, you get a Sidewinder. This is what you get. And when you die, you have two options. You can rebuy the ship that you were flying, which, depending on the ship and depending on what you had equipped to the ship, will cost you varying amounts of money. Or you can opt for a free Sidewinder. And if you end up flying something you can't afford, after losing it, you don't really have a choice but to go back to the Sidewinder. So that kind of immediately addresses what is the punishment for death here. And it is basically the kind of sapping of whatever you had attached to your ship, whatever you were carrying in your cargo hold, and of course the ship itself if you don't have the money to purchase yet another one. We are currently within a starport right now, but before we go, I want to talk a little bit about why I am addicted to this game. The most important thing, in my opinion, for space simulation games is immersion. The game is attempting to immerse you in this believable world where you are a pilot of some repute or no repute, and then making yourself something, that the ship is yours and yours alone, and that the detail within the world itself is enough that it is believable. And that starts with the ship and extends through everything, to NPCs, to starports, to space itself. We can start here by taking a look at the menu. First, everything that you are ever going to need when playing the game is going to be presented within your ship. It is all here, right here. And we are looking at a menu right below us. I am docked in a starport currently, and when you're within a starport, you have a couple of options. You can go back to the surface, you can launch, but more importantly, within the starport services, you have a lot of choices. So, when you dock, you take a look at starport services, it's going to show you your ship. It has everything from how much fuel you'll have, how much money you have in the bank, how hurt you are. And from here, this very simple menu, you can do a lot of things. You can refuel, you can buy ammo if you're using weapons that use ammo. You can grab quick jobs from the bulletin board. You can jump into the commodities market. You have contacts and outfitting and all this stuff. If we go into contacts, depending on where you are in space, you will have options to maybe deal with the black market if you're within a star system that is governed by no law. If you're within Federation space, you can contact the Pilots Federation and maybe pay off a fine that you may or may not have. Like this right here, I have a little bit of a bounty, so we're going to go ahead and clear this off and pay it so that we're no longer worried about it. That was from something I did a little earlier. If you have the local security office, if you have any outstanding fines or something you need to take care of, you can grab that. This actually was, yeah, we're all set there. A lot of things here. The bulletin board, like I said, has missions right now. This is basically where you can grab quests and make some money. Now, as it stands right now in beta, there are a decent number of quests, but they mostly boil down to go off and kill a certain, like NPC, go off and kill X number of NPCs, or trade this long distance. It's pretty simple. It is beta, and that's kind of to be expected, especially with beta 1, as they're calling it. As the game builds and expands and whatnot, we're going to be seeing different types of missions, from exploration missions to bounty missions, all kinds of stuff. They talk about it a lot and what they plan on bringing in. And as other professions get implemented, like mining and stuff, we're going to start seeing things like that. We also have the ability to take a look at the commodities market. Now, this is going to be where a lot of people are going to spend a lot of their time, or at least early on. The commodities market is incredibly important. There is a trading system in the game, very, very heavily based on supply and demand. Now, unlike something like EVE, where you're looking at a player-run economy, there is already an economy in place. There are areas in space that are deemed agricultural, as we are now. There are areas in space that are deemed industrial or refining or high-tech. And you can kind of just play the market a little bit in that you can come here for the, like where I am now, if you take a look at the top, the agricultural economy, and you can come and look for something that they have high supply of, as you can see on the right-hand side. If we find something they have high supply of, or medium supply of would even work, say something like they have tea and stuff, that's a little bit expensive. Tea is very expensive here. Do something like grain usually is a good place to just grab something cheap. Right here, we can grab grain. We can buy it at 83 credits per. And then if we wanted to buy this and then take it to a industrial high-tech economy, typically they're going to buy that for a lot more. As it stands right now, the trading system is very basic. It's incredibly simple. It's buy low, sell high, use your brain, and you can make some quick bucks really easily. And this isn't really a complaint because as time goes and as the game gets developed, they're going to be adding dynamic and random events to the game as the world continues. It is a persistent world. It is not a world that stops when you log off and starts when you log back on. It is a world that is continually going whether you're there or not. So you could be, you know, doing some trading and things are all well, and then suddenly a war between two factions in a number of star systems break out, and suddenly in a certain star system, food and supplies becomes much more needed than it was before. So you could take, you know, you could jump out like 100 star systems away, buy these food and supplies super cheap, and then fly them into the war zone and sell them at an exorbitant price and make a hell of a profit. Again, these systems aren't in yet, but they will be in the future. And that's just kind of where but as for now, this is where the trading system kind of currently sits. It's rather basic, and a lot of people complain about it. Again, it's beta, and complaining is good because it tells the developer what's broken. As of right now, it needs a lot of work. It functions, but it's entirely too basic and can be kind of exploited really easily. And people have been exploiting it quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and bounce out of that. So that's kind of what you can do here at the shipyard. And that's the first level of detail that I'm talking about. Another level of detail that you can't see and that I'm going to actually mention here is the control system. So the game can be controlled with a keyboard and mouse. It can also be controlled with a controller if you plug one in. But if you are a hardcore sci-fi nerd or space sim, or you want to get involved in this kind of thing, and you have the money for it, or it's not even that expensive. If you have like $20 to $50 to throw at it, I would suggest getting a joystick. I myself dropped a little bit of extra money and picked up a Sci-Tech X52. It was around 150 bucks, but it is a joystick and throttle. So it has a joystick with a bunch of cool buttons, and on the left-hand side, I also have a separate piece that is the throttle, which directly kind of controls, obviously, the acceleration of my ship, this, that, and the other. And like I said, I find that important because of immersion factor, and I will say, I cannot imagine playing this game any other way. I have been playing this game for a few days now, and I've put a decent number of hours into it, and if I had to go play with a keyboard and mouse, personally, I think it would kill my immersion factor, but I do and have talked to a number of people who play with keyboard and mouse and love it. But honestly, this game is built for those who love this style of game, and truly, if you are a huge fan of it, I would suggest going ahead and grabbing a joystick. The next thing that really has pulled me in is just the game's look. It is an incredibly impressive looking game. Everything right down from the HUD itself, this holographic features, of showing the menu, of showing my ship, of showing my power situation over on the right-hand side. As you can see, my systems, my engines, and my weapons, giving me information off a little bit to the left of my fuel, my mass lock, etc. Everything is presented in such a silky smooth, just and even a slightly simple way that is just eye candy to look at. I can only imagine if I ever get an Oculus Rift, how this game is going to look, because it is Oculus Rift compatible. But even on my screen, at my 1080p, 1920 by 1080p monitor, this is an amazing looking game with lights off, and you just kind of have your headphones on. A good pair of headphones is amazing as well, because the sound design is fucking immaculate. But everything down to the little scratch marks on my actual cockpit it just really kind of pulls you in. But I want to show you a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and launch our ship here, and we're going to go ahead and take a look a little bit more at the details of my ship. So we're going to go ahead and launch, and we're currently in a hangar right now, so it's going to take my ship out. It's going to land us up here, and here we are at the starport itself, and we're going to be, there we go. We're going to be brought up. And there we go. So we have 5 minutes to leave. It basically gives us 5 minutes to leave the station. So we're going to go ahead and lift our ship up a little bit. And we're going to get ready to bounce out of the system, out of the station here. Now you're going to see ships around. Some of them are going to be NPCs. Some of them are going to be players. And one of the cool things that I think I really love is that you can't tell what's a player and what's an NPC until you scan. Once you scan it, if it's a player, they'll have a commander in front of their name. If it's an NPC, it will not. So we're going to go ahead and leave this space station, and we're going to show you just a little bit more as to why I love the visual aesthetic of this game. Oh, the sound of this game. Heavily Star Wars inspired. They do not take the realistic approach when it comes to sound design in this game. They really focus on kind of a fantastical sound. Everything has a very unique sound to it. Everything from the engines to the lasers, this, that, and the other. So we're going to go ahead and park our ship out here in space. And one of the things we can do is we can take a look around our ship. So we can actually kind of like unlock from the main thing, and we can look around our ship. Now our Sidewinder, like I said, is small, so we can't expect too much. But this is our ship as it stands. If we look down here, we can take a look at our player. He's fully detailed, fully modeled in his little space suit. Everything I do with my joystick, he will do with his hand. Same thing with his left hand. Everything I do, he mimics exactly, which is fucking cool. If I press a button, he'll press the button. All kinds of cool things, which, again, I love. It's just a simple little addition. All the menus that you're going to need in your ship are also presented within your ship itself. So if we take a look over here, we can see the fuel that I'm using as I am kind of floating around doing nothing. But more importantly, we can take a look over here, and all of a sudden, now we have another module to look at, which is going to present immediately useful information. So our statistics as our commander. I have 5 kills, I have no crime, I have no bounty on me, and I have $2,000 in the bank right now. So the bounty system we'll talk about here in a little bit. We also have our modules, which is everything that we have on our ship, from our sensor suite to our weapons, life support, this, that, and the other, all of which can be played around with. So if we want to say our life support, or let's put one of our pulse lasers as a priority 2 for our weapons, we can. And now it'll basically say, okay, pulse laser is a priority 2 compared to everything else. If we have the opportunity, when we have spare power, we make sure everything else has power before we start putting it to our pulse laser. That kind of level of detail, that kind of level of control is not only important, but incredibly impressive for a game like this. We have our fire group, so if we had more than our 2 weapons, we could actually play around with those a little bit. Cargo, if we had any cargo, and our functions, which is our landing gear, our cargo scoop, all kinds of good stuff. Since we're not landed anymore, we're going to go ahead and retract our landing gear. So it's going to go ahead and retract it. We can't actually go into hyperspace unless we retract it. We have a distress beacon. If we end up running out of fuel in the middle of space, we can actually launch a distress beacon. Hopefully a player, an NPC, will show up and give us fuel and not try and kill us. We have silent running, so if you want to turn off all engines, all power, and try to stay off the radar, we have that option. Ship lights, flight assist, all kinds of stuff that you can play with. Again, you can do all kinds of cool things. Let's talk a little bit about the bounty system. So one of my big complaints with EVE is its bounty system. If you know anything about me, I really enjoy, I really always wanted a good bounty hunting system in EVE. Moreover, I really wanted to like EVE. EVE is incredibly detailed, and it's a simulation experience I've always wanted to get into, but can never get into it. One of the big reasons, personally, was that the bounty system was never really something you could pursue as a full money-making kind of a thing. It was more of a side thing. Well, in Elite Dangerous, bounty hunting works in a way that I think is simple and effective. Basically, if you attack a player within Federation space that is unprovoked, you will gain a bounty. It'll place a bounty on your head automatically. If you attack NPCs, this, that, and the other, you get bounties. That's kind of simply how you get a bounty on your head. Then, if a player ends up killing you, he can take that bounty. Basically, if a player kills you, he gets that bounty. Or, moreover, you could actually take your ship into an anarchy system, land it, and pay off the bounty yourself. But the danger is actually getting to that system, because you're going into an anarchy-ruled system. NPC pirates are more prevalent. Players are more looking to kill you, and all kinds of good stuff. So that's how the bounty system works. So let's go ahead and take a look at the space station. One of my favorite parts of this game are the space stations. Welcome, Azaband City. This is the space station I was just docked in. We'll go ahead and actually back up a little bit. Put my throttles in reverse. Listen to those engines, man. Even in reverse, the engines sound a little different. So we can back up a little bit. So if you ever played the Elite games, this is going to look a little bit different. Or this is going to look rather a little familiar for you. Because back in the day, the stations kind of look like this, almost like a 20-sided die almost. And to see them fully detailed is incredibly impressive. They're always rotating, and again, this really adds to the level of detail. The reason they rotate is not because, hey, we're in space, we're rotating. There's actual lore reason behind why they're rotating. The reason they rotate is because it generates low gravity. So people, humans, can live longer lives because as you're in lower gravity, your heart and your muscles work a lot less, particularly your heart. So it is no longer, you can live longer lives as your heart gets, weaker as you grow older and all this stuff. So now your life is extended. And all these stations are kind of do this. There's always some rotation involved. But let's take a little bit of a closer look. So let's crank up our throttle and let's move up. Maybe we can see a player around here. I love the sound of that. If we wanted to, we could pop up on our weapons, by the way, and you can see them kind of show up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's go ahead and put them away. Let's go ahead and put them away. Down they go. And as you rotate, you can kind of hear everything. It's absolutely beautiful. And you can kind of explore all of this stuff. And if you want to get really, really, really close, you can. There's some... again, as you get close, you can hear like the... whoops. You can hear the whooshing of the station going by you. That's a player up ahead. That might be a player. Let's go ahead and scan him. It's a sidewinder. Chances are it's a player. He went right by me. So let's actually take a look. Commander Backer 21148. So that is a player who has not changed his name yet. His name is Commander Backer, but that is a player. Now I can't scan if he has cargo because I don't have the equipment to do so. That's something we can do later. So let's go ahead and get out of here. I wanted to see if we can get some combat, show you how combat works. It's pretty simple, but it is incredibly fun. So let's take a look over at our nav computer, and we can go ahead and we're an Aranid system. Let's go ahead and target Ibudis, a place that I've gone to often. So we lock the destination. Now we can actually go ahead and align ourselves with it. And let's start heading that way. And we're going to head into hyperspace. Now, hyperspace right now... actually, this is a good point to talk about this. This is why I was worried making this video, because of how much I'm going to have to discuss about a lot of things. Let's actually slow down. We're mass locked. I'm actually going to head back towards the system so I can fly into a no-fire zone. In case a player decides it's really fun to shoot me. If we get into the no-fire zone and somebody shoots me, the station will shoot them out of the sky. I think we're within the no-fire zone now. Yep, we just entered it. Right at the top left, it'll tell us. Alright, let's talk a little bit about how big this game is and how big the game will be. So if we head over to our nav computer, we pop open the galaxy map, we could take a quick peek. So, zooming in, as you can see, as we get big, smaller and smaller, here we are. We are in Ibudis. This is where we're going, rather. We are in Aranid system. We're going to be going to Ibudis. Everything here that you see can show you where exactly we are, where we need to go, and what the routes are. So if we wanted to go to Morgor, for instance, the dotted lines means we need to actually jump multiple times before we get there. So we would need to jump to either LP 98132 or Acellus Prime. And then from Acellus Prime, we'd have to jump to Dahan, and then Dahan to Morgor. And as you get better and better ships, you can jump further and further. As it is right now, the Sidewinder can't go too far. As you can imagine, it's not got the biggest engines in the world, so you can't really travel too far. There's also a couple of other options that you can take a look. So you can actually look for systems here, different routes. There's a lot of details here. With max cargo mass, you can kind of see how far you go. There's a lot of detail to basically show you how much you can carry, and you can even like talk about how much tons you're going to be carrying and what's going to be available to you. So if I'm carrying 3, let's max it. If I'm carrying 4 tons, you saw some dots disappear because I'll never be able to make it to there with the with my ship. Weight dictates or influences how far you can travel because it uses more fuel. Again, a level of immersion, a level of detail that I love. We can actually go ahead too and take a look at we're in the realistic map mode. We can take a look at the trade map mode. This may look a little confusing, and a lot of people complain that it is a little too confusing. But here is so a lot of useful information. All these colors are going to show you all kinds of different things. Like, for instance, anything that's light blue like this, if we take out these, we can take a look at... let's go ahead and take these off. We can take a look at just... alliance trade routes that only trade in metals. So you can kind of move all of these off if you really want to. And here we go. So right here, if you were looking to trade metals only to the Alliance members, if Alliance is even in here, let's do Federation. If you wanted to trade metals, but you only wanted to trade them to the Federation, you can actually do that. You can manage it. So metals through through only Federation space and Federation trade routes, this is what you can do. If you want to do independent, for instance, you can go ahead and do that. So I want to trade metals only through independent trade routes. A little bit more dangerous, but chances are you're going to make a little bit more money. Empire, for instance. I don't even know if the Empire's in the game yet, but that's going to be something that you can do. All these alliances, by the way, and different factions you're going to be able to join and fight on their side in wars and stuff. All that stuff is coming to the game. Federation, Empire, Alliance, Independent, all that good stuff. But again, it shows you a lot of useful information, and you can take a look at everything you need to know here. Again, typically having all these lights on can be a little bit confusing, but as long as you know what you're looking at, you can kind of look it out. So here we are, as I was showing a little bit of the map. Now this bubble represents the beta. Right now the beta is only 55 star systems. And saying only is hilarious because a lot of games might only restrict that to 55 star systems. But the beta is only 55 subsystems. The beta prior to this, Premium Beta 2 or whatever it was only 10 star systems. So it was even smaller than this. But this is 55 star systems, and you can travel to every single one of them. By the end of development, it is going to be over 400 billion star systems. Let's take a look at how big that's going to be. Hey, look at this. We got some Alliance space, Federation space, the old worlds. Oops, I clicked on something I didn't mean to. Let's take a look. Oh, hey, look, Empire space. Let's take a look. What else we got? Oh, Polaris, Pleiades. Those are some names of some stars. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And the Galactic Center. This is how big the game is going to be. And that's why having one mega server is going to be important. Again, you can play with friends, you can play solo, and you can do what you want. But when a game is this big and they really have this emphasis on playing with other players, you can see why it's so huge. Now, of course, not every star system is going to have planets to kind of go around or have anything really of any value there. A lot of it's going to be explorable because exploration is going to be something you can do to make some money off of. But there are going to be stars and systems that are going to be more heavily prevalent with players. Probably the galactic capitals of certain alliances and so on. You can imagine we'll see a lot more player traffic. But for those of us who enjoy being alone, out and exploring the galaxy all alone on your lonesome, that's going to be very, very possible for you. Imagine getting lost in space, though. Being able to go out there and running out of fuel and being nowhere near any civilization. How cool is that? So that's how big this is, and that's huge, right? And I'm looking forward to them expanding it. But even so, 55 star systems is still pretty big, and there's a lot you can do there. So let's take a look a little bit as to what's going on. Is that that looks like combat going on out there. I see shields kind of approaching. Let's actually go take a look and see what's going on out there. And it looks like maybe there's some combat. It looked like he had shields going. Commander Backer. And if you take a look at the left-hand side, this is another player, by the way, also in a Sidewinder. If you take a look at the other side, he has no bounty. It says clean. Clean means he has no bounty. And off he goes. And again, audio sounds phenomenal. All right, let's move on to another star system. I want to show you hyperspace a little bit. So let's move over there. So I actually have it locked. I have it locked on a different area. So let's go ahead and lock on Ibutis, which is where we want to go. Lock destination. And let's go ahead and move our power to engines so we can move a little bit faster and a little bit more efficiently as we do some traveling. And we're going to hear some more freaking audio that really, really gets me, and I love it. So we're going to go ahead and move. Now, we can't go into warp until we're unmass locked. If you're too close to a planet or to a space station, your ship becomes mass locked, meaning you cannot warp anywhere near it. It's just kind of one of those things to keep you from just warping in on it. But once we're warped, what we can do is we can take a look over here and click on Ibutis and engage our hyperdrive. So our drive is going to charge. Computer tells you it's charging. It sounds fucking beautiful, by the way. And we will charge our warp drive. And once we charge, let's go ahead and bring it down here for a minute. All right, let's do it. We're fully ready to go. We'll throttle up. it's going to give us a countdown before we hit it. And now your Star Wars fantasies come to life. Beautiful. Now, it is showing a little bit of an overlay. This is a known bug in the beta. Everyone going into hyperspace and coming out of hyperspace can sometimes be a little laggy. Basically, the game is trying to find a server. The way the server works is, think Guild Wars 2. It is phased. So if there are too many players in an area, particularly for beta, it's going to look for a part of the server or a server that's not going to be too overcrowded. Oh, right there. That whoop, 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 whoop. It's beautiful. And that can happen between, like I said, going into hyperdrive and coming out of hyperdrive. And it is a known bug, and it is being worked on and hopefully fixed within either a hot patch or another one. So when you come out of hyperdrive, you usually come in at what is the closest nav beacon. Usually that's near the star in the star system you're in. And goddamn, is it not just the most beautiful thing in the world. So here we are, and I do not know what that is. I'm just gonna leave. Oh, that's the nav beacon, I think. Oh, that could have just been an artifact. And from here, you can kind of start deciding where you want to go. So we're in Ibuta, so there's plenty of different decisions we can make. We can go to Chango, which is a planet. This little symbol next to Chango means it's a planet. Chango Dock, which means it's a port. We could definitely go there. We can go to Ibuta's D, which is a whole other star system, which we'd have to warp to. Then they have a planet there, which we'd have to go to. Ibuta's B, Ibuta's C. Oh, wait, would we have to warp there? Looks like we might not, actually. Oh, it's a very, very short distance. Well, 18,000 light seconds is not a very short distance, but let's go ahead and do this. But other things that are exciting, so say we're going to Chango Dock. Let's actually lock onto this for now. Well, that was the first time I've ever had actually a hard crash on this game. I honestly would not put it past the fact that the game and Fraps might not be working as well or friendly together as I would expect it to, though that could just be the game just crashing as well. I don't know if we're actually in Super Cruise anymore, so let's fix that. We're going to focus on Mayor Prime just for now as a point, because I don't think we're in Super Cruise. I think when the game boots us and re-puts us in, it puts us back in Impulse engines. Yeah, we're back in Impulse. So we're going to go ahead and focus here. I love the little glare we got going on. And then we'll charge up our Super Cruise, which is basically, think of it between Impulse and warp speed. You're traveling at several times the speed of light, but not quite hyperdrive, not quite warp. So we're going to hit into Super Cruise, and there we are. And now things are going to look a little different, obviously, as you can see. You do have these kind of like sidebars kind of going by you, but now we can actually go to places really, really far away. And that's something we want to kind of work on. So the game has this thing where, and it basically creates random encounters. As you're flying through Super Cruise, every so often you will come across an unidentified signal source, which I actually had one before I got kicked and the game crashed, but I think it's gone now. So we'll hopefully look for one. And those are, like I said, they're random encounters. They're randomly generated by the game itself. And when you go to them and you kind of come out of warp and near them, which actually one might be right here. Yep. It can be any number of things, from a pirate setting a trap to like the police like taking down a known criminal and all kinds of cool things. But what you have to do is you go up and you travel up towards it. As you get closer, you're going to show on the left-hand side your distance. Now you're going to see the distance bar as a blue thing. That's where you want to drop. That's the time you want to drop out of your Super Cruise speed. And oh man. And then the speed itself, in order to drop out of Super Cruise safely, you need to be within the blue bars of your speed bar. If you jump out earlier than that, you actually end up damaging your ship. So let's go ahead and get a little bit closer. And we'll drop out and see what this unidentified signal source is. Who knows? It could be a hardened criminal. It could be a pirate. Hell, it could actually just be a hauler. There was a one point in time where an unidentified signal source was just a hauler who had come out of deep space. And I jumped it and attacked it. And what he did in desperation, this was an NPC by the way, was dump all of his cargo and try and warp away. Unfortunately, I still killed him because I'm a douchebag. So we're getting really close. And once we get really close, we have to be under 1,000 kilometers from the unidentified signal sources. We're going to go ahead and hit the... We're going to just... Oh, there we go. We're going to drop to Impulse here. And the first thing I'm going to do is bring up my weapons, put some power to the weapons itself and to the to our systems, which is going to work on our shields. And we're going to take a look and keep an eye on our radar and see if anything shows up. I'm not entirely sure. So if you could take a look at the left-hand side, we're in the Buddhist system. It's under Federation jurisdiction. It's a democracy, and it's mostly industrial. And right now, it looks like this area is empty. Now, there's a chance, and I do believe this is possible, that... Oh, nope. We have two. Whoa, we have a bunch of signals up ahead. Anaconda says, ha, 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 ha. You can take a look at the comms. You can text other players through comms. That's where also NPCs will talk to you. And you can actually... There is built-in voice chat as well, where you can... Federal fighters. These are Federation fighters, and presumably they're attacking this Anaconda. And he just warped off, I think. It looks like they were attacking him. What is going on? Federal fighters. Nothing I'm really seeing. I'm dropping my scan around. That's what I love. I like the fact that I can do this. It's an eagle. Let's go ahead and slow down a little bit. Federal. It's another federal. So it looks like they were chasing the Anaconda, and the Anaconda was some sort of criminal. Anaconda got away, though, before we could do anything about it. Just want to double check this last ship here. Can't really get a hold of it. And my weapons are going to stay drawn. Another eagle, so that's going to be Federation as well. Alright, we'll retract our hard points here. This is what I love about the game, man. This is like... I sit here with my joystick and everything, and I feel like a friggin' badass doing it. You just feel like you're part of this world, man. You got this ship. The ship is just... It really feels like it's your personal ship, and that's why I love it. It really does. It feels amazing. And I love just kind of soaring through space and just exploring. And I think that's a real testament to what this game can truly do, is that I can sit here and do essentially nothing, exploring and checking things out, and still feel like I'm part of this living world where things are happening. And I can, you know, affect those things. You know, couple that with the audio, couple that with the really impeccable controls so far, and you just have one of the most immersive space sims I've ever played. And it's such a shame that we did not see space sims for so long, that it was a genre almost lost. Whoa, let's head over there. A genre that was almost lost to time, just because it just, you know, people were not that interested in it. You know, a lot of people were like, the big thing is going to be first-person shooters. Let's just, you know, there was a time where these games were the best games out there. And I'm so happy to see, you know, this is one of the greater things about crowdfunding, is that we can bring these types of genres back. And we're proving that these are wanted genres. And the production value behind these games is also kind of impeccable. And these aren't just indie companies either. These are full-blown companies. I mean, Chris Roberts himself, you know, kind of comes with a pedigree himself, so Star Citizen has a lot of hype to live up to, but he has a huge team working behind him, and Elite and the people building it, the Frontier building Elite are people who worked on the originals. These are not just indie guys being like, let's make this AAA type game. These are people who know what they're doing, and it's really impressive, and I'm very excited to see it. So let's go ahead, let's jam our engines up a little bit and see just what we have to deal with. Now, when you're in Super Cruise mode, you actually cannot deploy hardpoints, so I cannot bring my weapons out ahead of time. I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be some loot here, because you can be kind of the scavenger who goes around space and just kind of sucks up, floating loot after like a big battle. I mean, I can see a lot of people making their money that way. I mean, a lot of people make their money that way in EVE, where big battles happen in space, and then what they do is people will go to where those battles happen and kind of scrap everything around there. So it's only one ship. There's a very good chance that this ship is not a friend. Our power is pretty balanced. Where is he? There he is. It is a Sidewinder, and he's wanted, Conrad Fry. So he is not a player. He is an NPC. So we've got him targeted, and we're going to open fire on him. So let's go ahead and do this. So the combat is incredibly responsive, which I love. And one of my favorite parts about combat is the music. And the music's going to kick in here in a minute. But dogfighting in this game is amazing. The way they've actually dealt with the pitch and yaw and the control of the ship is a little bit different than a lot of people would expect. If you take a look at the bottom right-hand side, your throttle on the right, If you are outside of that blue zone, which is they're calling it like I think the sweet zone for turning. If you're not in that, turning is very, very, very hard. And the only way to turn really effectively is to kind of bring the throttle down and turn like that. Now, of course, in space, that shouldn't actually matter. Whoa! I have to dodge here. Now, of course, in space, it shouldn't matter, but the reason they're doing this is purely mechanical. They want to make sure that something called turreting doesn't happen, which is basically players standing in one spot and just hard turning and attacking people from here. They want dogfights to be exciting, to be fast-paced and enjoyable. And really, they've succeeded. Combat is one of my favorite points in this game, especially with better weapons. You can see your enemy's health and his HUD and everything. On my left-hand side, we can see his engines and stuff. And there is the ability to target certain subsystems. So once I take his shields down, if I really wanted to, I could target his engines, or I could target his weapons and take those out and make them a little bit, worse for wear. Now, as far as enemies have in this game right now, by the way, in the beta, have a tendency of trying to dive bomb you a lot, which is kind of hilarious. Now, of course, when you're dealing with like a Sidewinder pirates who are in a shitty ship and they're NPCs, targeting subsystems, that's not something you're gonna do. Really, those mechanics are gonna be best used in PvP, where maybe you're attacking a player, you just want to be a pirate and you just want to take his goods, you don't want to kill him. You could just target his engines and his weapons, basically disabling his ship, and then demand his goods without actually taking his life and actually taking his ship. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a towing system later on in the game. So the way that... Okay. Let's go ahead and... So he has no shields now. My weapons did run down. Now you're going to see a little circular thing going around his ship. That is basically the timer until his shields come up. The faster it's going, the more power he's putting to his systems. The slower it's going, as you can see there, the less power he is putting into his systems. So typically when you start shooting at him, he's probably putting a lot of his power into his engine, as he's probably trying to escape. I have lost NPC pirates to them just warping away. Yeah, he might try and dive bomb me here. And the sounds of the laser hitting just the hull are magnificent. But right now it looks like he is really not putting any power into his system, so he's gonna... he really... We brought his hull down to 27%. Right. Luckily, it looks like we might have damaged his systems themselves. The shields went down much quicker. Now he should be going down pretty shortly. And his ship is spinning out of control. Boom. And we got a bounty. So he was wanted. That's what that was all about. And we ended up getting a bounty from him. Now, there is space debris in this game. There are physics, and hopefully one of the things I can show you in a minute in regards to that kind of thing, as regards to just physical things in the universe do exist. So we can actually kind of come up to this thing and we can kind of ram it. He was actually a good distance off. And this thing is moving. That might be the case. It actually probably is moving a little faster than I can keep up with it, because it was moving at the speed he was moving at when he blew up. So let's go ahead and hand in this voucher. So we have a bounty voucher we can turn in. Let's head over to Chango Dock. We'll lock our destination. We'll align ourselves with it. You cannot actually enter until you align yourself with it. And then we can go ahead over here, and we can go ahead and enter Super Cruise. Oh, we have our hard points deployed, so we'll go ahead and put our weapons away. We don't need to do that. And we will click and enter Super Cruise. Now, for ultimate immersion, there's an actual program that if you've been watching me stream, which I've been actually streaming this game quite a lot lately, it's called Voice Attack. And what Voice Attack does is an $8 program, and I'm going to tell you right now, it is incredibly effective. It actually takes voice commands, and it will basically take what you say and turn it into keystrokes. So one of the commands I have is gear down and gear up. And now I don't have voice command running because I'm doing all this commentating for this video. But if I say gear up, it will actually then go ahead and press the hotkey for my landing gear and then put the gear down or up. I can say something like, one of the commands I have is combat shields. And what that means is like kind of an emergency kind of command for me, where it takes all of my power and puts all the power it can into my shields and leaves one or two in weapons or engines. And I can do power engines or power to weapons, and what that'll do is it'll put maximum power into those things. This is really good for things like maneuvering power around, because if I wanted to move power more intricately and stuff, it'd take me a few clicks and stuff. Just saying it does it automatically for me. It can really shorten a lot of the things you do. And I have certain sets too for player versus player combat. I can say combat PC, and what that'll do is it'll put 2 in my systems and 4 in my weapons, taking all of it out of engines, meaning engines are as a base functionality, and it'll be ready for player versus player combat. I highly suggest voice command. If you're more interested in how it works, make sure you follow me on Twitch. I have been streaming this game quite often, and you'll be seeing it in action as I play this game, as I do plan on playing this game on stream for a while longer at the very least. So we're coming up to Chango Dock here. I'm actually curious. Well, let's dock into Chango Dock. I'll show you how docking works. Then I want to show you one more thing that I really, really love. So we're coming up on it. I don't want to go too fast. Now, I do believe... Actually, I don't. Never mind. I was going to say, I'm not entirely sure what those blue rings represent. It might just be like a targeting thing, to be honest. So as we kind of approach here, we're approaching quickly. Okay, the planet's right there, which is actually cool. You know, before we actually go to Chango Dock, let's... that actually might be the gravity well of the planet. That's another thing that's in the game. Again, a level of detail that is just magnificent is things like planets, like suns. They have gravity wells. That blue little dot, by the way, that looks like a shooting star is actually another player in Super Cruise, or an NPC even. So if I got really close to Chango, planet Chango here, all of a sudden my speed would slow down because now I am in the gravity well of the planet, and that means I am dealing with the planet's gravity. I cannot, you know, accelerate as much as I would like to, and actually I think it's affecting me right now. And that is all over the place in this game. Certain planets and stars have different gravity wells and stuff, and dealing with that is a very real thing when you're dealing with traveling. Sometimes you want to kind of avoid that and just kind of get to, you know, maybe hit a more optimal angle from to be able to get to the place you're trying to go. So let's go ahead and actually land in Chango Dock here. So we're going to go ahead and drop out of Super Cruise. A lot of the star systems, or the space stations, look very similar. There are a few that look a little different. I don't know if Chango Dock is going to be one of the ones that looks a little different. I don't think it is, from me being here a few times. Can't quite remember. And this is, again, another known bug. Sometimes it actually gets you permanently stuck dropping out of Super Cruise or Hyperdrive, and you actually have to reboot the game. It looks like that is not going to be the case. Again, I was looking for a system to drop me in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put most of our power to the engines here, as we can consider ourselves pretty safe. Again, we are within Federation space, so getting attacked even out here, as long as they're, you know, is a pretty safe thing. It's not really going to happen all that much. One of the cool things that happens in the game too is there are things called interdictions, which I have not happened. Basically, interdictions are you getting pulled out of hyperspace unwillingly. So if I am super cruising to Chango Dock, suddenly something called an interdiction can happen. I am yanked out of Super Cruise. I am yanked out of the speed of light. And right now it's only NPCs. And the NPCs typically are one of two things. It's either pirates pulling you out to hijack your stuff and you have to get into a fight, or if you actually don't have any cargo, they'll just ignore you and let you go. Or it's the cops. Basically, think of them pulling you over. Especially if you're in Federation space, getting interdicted is a very common occurrence by the police. What they do is they scan you for illegal goods, because there are illegal goods in this game that you can sell for quite the profit at black markets. So let's go ahead and boost up a little bit. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's go ahead and boost. There we go. Put on our afterburners, essentially. Now we are approaching the station. In order to dock, what we need to do is we need to go ahead over to our communications tab, go over to contacts, click Chango Dock, and go ahead and request docking. Now you see all those white things? All uranium and toxic waste? That's stuff that's been dropped from a blown up ship. And that either happened to a player or an NPC. Picking those up is considered stealing. They are not, even if a player gets killed here, as far as I understand the way it works, it is considered stealing, and you will get shot at or have a fine put on you. So we requested docking. As you can see in the bottom, we do have 10 minutes to dock before our docking is revoked, and it gives us a landing pad. Now I'm approaching this at a really weird angle, but here we are. Let's see who that Cobra is. Commander Val Dudes is a player. We do have to go to docking pad 34.
Welcome to our station.
Let's see. 34. Wow, it's right there. All right, so we're going to go to docking pad 34. Let's go ahead and drop our landing gear here. And let's see what we can do. Landing gear. And what we're going to do now is start to line ourselves up. So we can actually move our ship up and down vertically. It's not as fast, but it's not really used for anything other than landing. Let's go ahead and speed up. Let's go ahead and line ourselves with the dock a little bit more. Again, the ship rotates very slowly, but once you're inside, you are within the ship's gravity. So you are rotating with the ship, which is awesome. All right, so there we go. Once we get it low enough, we get this little kind of landing helper. So we kind of can see this. Think of it as like the camera that you get on these newfangled cars nowadays that show you like your rear view and so on. So what we need to do is just land. Boom.
Docking successful.
And once we land, we can do a bunch of things. So we're going to go into the starport services. We're going to hand in our voucher for the bounty we collected. Again, gives you a nice kind of incentive to do bounty hunting. Let's go ahead and... is it the Pilots Federation? The security office. We're going to redeem our voucher. And we gained ourselves an instant 750 credits. There's a black market here? Really? That might be why someone got blown up out there, actually. We might not be in Federation space anymore. Really? Buddhist is a area you can sell black market stuff? Interesting. Alright, let's actually head down into the hangar here. And let's actually get some repairs done. So let's go repairs. Our modules are all repaired, so our basic individual parts are fine. Oh, and our repairs are actually all good. So we just need to refuel here. Refueling is super cheap. And we can just leave. Looks like we're good. One of the things we can do, I'll show you a little bit of the customization that's allowed. So as we're docking up, we can take a look at our ship. Again, ship's kind of basic looking, but these are the things I have on the Sidewinder. We do have paint jobs if you want to switch them out, which... as of right now, I'm not a huge fan as to how they actually deal with the paint jobs. I can't actually do anything with the paint jobs. Never mind. Never mind. Let's go ahead and back. This is the weapons, which we can buy different weapons for, and they all have different things. Right now, the weapon selection isn't huge, but it's still pretty big. There are plasma weapons, laser weapons, Gatlings, guns, missiles, all kinds of good stuff. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Let's go back to outfitting. You have utility mount, which you can put other things. Typically with a utility mount, you could put another weapon, though I don't know if there's a really good way to control it. This is where you're going to want to put your heat sinks and other things like chafe missiles, I believe it's called. A kill warrant scanner, very, very important when you have a better ship and you're actually going to go out bounty hunting more. This is very, very important to have because I do believe you need this to hunt bounties of other players in like Federation space as far as I'm concerned. There are things to shoot off so you can get rid of homing missiles so they go and fire at those instead, basically breaking the homing missile. All kinds of good stuff. You can upgrade your armor. You can upgrade your tech. If we take a look at tech, it's basically the same stuff. I'm curious if this is... okay, so this is all the same stuff. And you can upgrade your shields and stuff. So the customization is pretty decent so far in the beta itself. And it will be more so as time goes on. So we collected our bounty here, and we got our ship all refueled. Let's launch out of the system, and I want to see if I can show you one more thing. Let's go ahead and balance our power. The game is getting a little laggy right now. Sometimes at night, when there's a lot of players, it can end up getting a little bit slower. Right now, we have a couple sidewinders, there were a couple haulers, but while we're waiting, we're gonna go ahead and go to Opala. We'll lock Opala, so when we do eventually get to leave, we'll show you Opala. It might honestly be a little bit laggy right now, so I will cut recording, and I will be back when I launch. Well, as of right now, I did reboot the game, and it is still not letting me launch. I think it might be a problem with the server right now. Again, beta is beta. That's fine. I the one thing I want to show you is the level, again, another level of detail that really impresses me, with the ability to fly into the rings around planets that are made up of rocks and asteroids and all these cool things, and being able to actually go in there and fly around the asteroids and actually do things there. And it looks like we're going to get launching now, but I do not trust the game to load up a proper hyperdrive or super cruise as of right now, and I don't want to be stuck here kind of doing that the whole time. So I'm going to end up wrapping up this Judge Mathas on this beta version. Okay. I think I'm getting hit. I think something rammed into me. So we're just going to get out of here. I don't trust the game to actually work properly as of right now. Again, these typically do happen. I'm not really too concerned about it. We will deal with it another time. A couple of players in front of me. This is a good time of night to play too, because of how many players there are on. This looks like it might be a newer player. He's kind of having a hard time. As you can see, he's having a very, very... Whoa! Okay. I just got hit by another ship. Ugh. Alright. Let's get out of here, because we're getting rammed for some reason. Alright, let's just go ahead and back out of here. And let's retract our landing gear a bit. Landing gear retracted. There we go. And once the landing gear is retracted, your engines actually can kick up into full power here. Does that thing ever hit us? Douche. We'll actually stop here and actually kind of end this video with one of the No, Jesus. I didn't mean to do that. I hit boost accidentally. Ha ha ha. Still quite new myself. So let's go ahead and do this. Full reverse. And kind of end with a beautiful view. There's so many beautiful views in this game, and that's one of the greater joys, is really kind of just enjoying the views here. But I want to wrap this video up of this particular beta. I will be doing more videos on it as days and time goes on. But for now, I'm loving this game. I guess the question is $75 too much for this game right now? And I'll leave you off with that particular thought. And that's difficult to really put a price on, because I do believe prices are different to the individual themselves. If you are expecting to give $75 and get a fully featured game, I would wait. The game is currently targeted, as far as I understand, is the end of 2014. Probably around November, December-ish, we'll be looking at this game launching at the end of 2014. But if you are willing to jump into a game and help, develop it, find bugs and stuff, while still having a pretty fully featured game and one of the more immersive sims I've ever played out there, and get your hands on get in on the ground floor, I can say, at least personally, this was $75 well spent, and I have personally been very, very addicted to this game, and have been thinking about playing it when I'm not playing it, especially the past few days. And it has been a phenomenal experience all the way through. I think Frontier have a game on their hands that could hopefully and potentially explode in a way that they don't expect it to. Right now, their marketing team isn't really marketing the game, and I don't blame them, because the game is not finished. And it's not nearly finished yet. But as the months start to tick away and we do get closer and closer to those launch dates, we're going to be looking at a game that could be very, very popular. And that's not talking about the expansion packs that they've already talked about. Things being able to land on planets, to be able to get up and walk around your ship and explore, and all this wonderful stuff that is planned in the future. But the base game right now is, in its current state, though a little buggy and needs a little work, the trade needs work, and the lag needs work, and a lot of the loading still needs some work. I am still, despite the bugs, having an incredible time with the game. And when it launches, I expect it to do very, very well for itself, and I can see myself spending plenty of time on the game. If you want to see this game more, I will be streaming it over at twitch.tv/MathasStarcraft. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'm curious what you, the jury, think about this game in particular, and I'm looking forward to reading every one of them. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more videos just like this one, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, and I will be back next time. Bye-bye.